how far we're going to get, but North's taken us through verse 1 all the way up through verse 7. All right, last week, kind of recapped on what we had so far with the whole issue of trials. All right, when did they come? Why did they come? Hardest question for anybody to ask is why me, right? Why did this happen to me? Why did my friend, whatever. There isn't an answer. That is just absolutely the hardest question for anybody to answer. But the story of, or what finishes up here in verse 7 about, these have come so that your faith, of greater worth than gold which perishes even though refined by fire, may be proved genuine and may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. Right? We go through these trials to strengthen us. When we talked about the gold, you heat the gold up, the gloss comes to the top, you get it off. Connie talked about how do you know when that you're done? Well, it's shiny enough that you can see yourself. All that dross, all that stuff is gone. Well, and the issue with steel or iron, with swords, all right, if you don't heat it up, cool it off, heat it up, cool it off, heat it up, cool it off, it's brittle or it's soft, it doesn't work. But when you heat it up and you do all that stuff to it, now you've got this piece of metal that is unbelievably strong, capable of doing all the things that you need to do. All right, so that's where we left off. Now, with verse 8, if you follow along with me here. All right, though you have not seen him, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and are filled with an inexpressible and glorious joy. For you are receiving the goal of your faith, the salvation of your souls. All right, easy sentence, right? Nothing in there, very controversial. Right, yeah, okay. We'll just follow along with what North has taught us before. We'll kind of take a look at that sentence, go through in there and see what's in there, all right? First of all, we know that Peter, all right, is writing this to various number of cities and towns. Where? Where did he write this to, in general? Turkey, right? All right, they get right up there in verse 1, the God's elect, strangers in the world scattered, and then there's these places. So he's scattered and talking to them. All right. So now, when you read this verse, all right, and you break it down, you can see very clearly, all right, what it is, all right? Though you, all right, I'm going to keep pushing the button here. You have not seen him. You love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and are filled with an inexpressible and glorious joy, for you are receiving the end result of your faith and your souls. There's no doubt he's talking to those guys, all right? 2,000 years later, he's talking to us, right? It's not like this is a letter that was sent to a special dignitary someplace, or even specifically this verse that it goes to somebody else. This is us that he's talking to here. There's no doubt about it. All right? So when we read it, say, hey, this is for us. This is, like I say, this is not for the captain of the debate team. This is not for the synagogue leader. This is not whatever. This is written to us. All right. What action are we supposed to take based on these two verses right here? What are we supposed to do? There's two in particular that show up there. What are we supposed to do? Because he's telling us here.
Love it.
All right, so we're supposed to love him. All right, and believe. All right, that's in the first half. And what is the last action thing that happens here? We're supposed to receive. All right, so a little different verbs here, all right, but clearly, all right, us, the you that he's talking about in here, all right, we're supposed to love him, all right, we're supposed to believe him, and then we'll receive from him. Okay, who's the him? Is it Peter? Who's the him? Who's the subject of this verse?
Christ.
Oh, that's Christ up there.
Says him with a capital H.
All right. Just making sure you're checking. All right. You do have to be careful, right? Sometimes there's a him that we're talking about Jesus, and sometimes this him could be any other person that out there. It could be whatever the subject of that particular message is, right? In this case, there's no doubt that the subject of the message, or his him, is Jesus. All right. So we're supposed to love him. All right, Alice?
She and I have a question.
Yes.
Why is only one him capitalized? Why? Because he's referring to Christ the whole all the way through.
You can always capitalize.
You got me.
None of mine are.
You will find,
Yours are all capitalized?
you will find that sometimes none of the hymns are capitalized. Some of them are capitalized and some aren't. I don't know if it's the way, you don't have any? Okay, so Lisa doesn't have any that are capitalized. All right, so this is all part of learning to study and trying to figure out whether it's capitalized or not capitalized. If you study the verse, you know who's being talked about, right? All right? All right? So that's a really good question, all right? And you will find that all over the place, and I don't know why. I don't know why. Sometimes it's... Liz, did you have something to say on that?
I was just gonna say all of mine.
Okay, and it might be the...
None of mine.
None?
Ah, okay.
Okay, but
He has two different.
does it really matter? No, we've had this conversation before. It doesn't matter that much if you study it and you understand what's going on, you know who the him is. So now it doesn't make any difference whether it's capitalized or not, as long as we know that this him is Christ. Correct? Because it can trick you. It can make people, wonder what's going on. All right? And if we study the word properly and we pick it apart and we look at the verbs and we look at the nouns and we look at the focus here, like North taught us way back. It seems like a long time ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. All right? You understand that him is Jesus Christ. Okay,
I have
so,
another question
yes.
about that him. It says, and though you've not seen him, and I know it says then later, though you do not see him now. But didn't some of the people actually did see him?
Yes,
Did I skip ahead?
you did.
I'm sorry.
But it's okay, Barbara. It's okay. We're going to get there. All right? We are going to get there. That means you're paying attention and you're observing it. That's exactly what we wanted, all right? Yes, Jen?
In the King James, verse 7 says, be found in the praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ, then it says verse 8, whom having not seen you love.
Yeah.
So it ties in with verse 7.
Right. That rolls back to the whole issue of knowing the context, right?
Yes.
I mean, you just don't take something out of context, read it, and apply it to something. You've got to, go before, go after, and find out the context. All right, that's why your question is a good one, because here, the context is Peter is talking to people who what? Not seen him, right? Okay, we'll get there in a second, though. All right, so we got who is attention to us, all right? We're supposed to love him, all right? We're supposed to believe in him. We're going to receive something, and it's all the issue of from Christ. All right? Now, to Barbara's point, the not, all right? You could very easily, if you weren't paying attention and trying to dissect what was there, you could overlook the not part. The word doesn't make much, it doesn't make much of a change to the context of that sentence, right? When you look at what's going on, we know who it is. It's to us, it's to those cities that he wrote it to. All right, we know what we're supposed to do. We know it's about Jesus, all right? It's very easy to overlook the fact that he is saying to you who have not seen him, all right? So he's making a distinction here between he, the rest of the apostles, and those people that did see Christ and were there, all all right, make a distinction between them and these guys, these cities that are in Turkey that he's writing to. Hey, you guys love him. You guys believe in him. You guys are going to be receiving something, and yet you didn't see him. Now, how easy was it for Peter and the rest of the apostles to understand, believe all that happened with Jesus when they were there?
It was difficult.
Remember when we went through all 12 of the apostles? It was tough, right? All right, they had a horrible time with it. Right? They were always doubting and falling back and not understanding. All right? So now Peter is writing this letter to these guys in Asia, and he's saying, I'm commending you because you love him. All right? You believe in him. All right? And you didn't see him. All right? And he knows in his heart, Peter does, how tough it was. Right? Peter denied him 3 times on the night before he was crucified, all right? So Peter had his own set of problems here. Okay, so to look at that, we got to go to John 24. So look back in your Bibles. Take a look here. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John 20. John 20, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, chapter 20. We're going to start with 24. I know we're starting someplace that we've been before, all right, but it never hurts to go back over this again. Butch talked about it 2 weeks ago, all right, when he talked about Thomas, but follow along here, all right? John 20, 24. Now Thomas, called Didymus, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, we have not seen the Lord, or we have seen the Lord. But he said to them, unless I see the nail marks in his hands, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand in his side, I will not believe. Okay, so now we know, we already learned this, that's where Thomas gets his doubting Thomas stuff. I'm not going to believe unless I can do this, all right? Now, it's a week later. 26. A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was there with them. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, peace be with you. All right, traditional greeting, all right, that Christ would have. Peace be with you. Then he said to Thomas, put your finger here. See my hand. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe. Thomas didn't have to ask. Jesus offered. All right. We already know the rest of the disciples didn't believe either. I mean, Jesus did a week earlier, all right? So, 28, Thomas said to him, my Lord and my God. He got it right away. Thomas did. All right? Here's the point to our message with Peter. Verse 29. Then Jesus told them, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. Jesus knows right here, all right, and he's telling the apostles right here, all right? Look how much work you guys just went through to actually believe that I have risen from the dead, all right? You were with me all this time. We did all this stuff. You suffered. You saw miracles. You did all these things, all right? You still didn't get it, all right? All right? And you had to poke at my side and look at my hands and get it. Once you got it, you saw it, you believed, right? And then Jesus makes this point, right? Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed, all right? So he's giving us a blessing. He's saying straight away, blessed, all right, are those who have not seen and yet have believed. All right, now, fast forward. Peter's now received the Holy Spirit. The apostles are scattered out. Peter's now in Rome. He's writing this letter to these guys in Asia, all right? We're reading it right now, and he says, well, I'll go back over there. All right? Though you have not seen him, all right? Read it again, it makes a little more sense to us, all right? Though you have not seen him, you love him. Though you have not seen him now, do not see him now, you believe in him and are filled with an inexpressible and glorious joy, for you are receiving the goal of your faith, the salvation of your souls. So he's just making a point. We need to receive that message to say that we have blessings, all right? Because Christ said it. Because we didn't see him. We have to believe it on other things. North?
Also, these people he's writing to, this is between 30 and 35 years after Jesus died.
Right.
So this is a whole nother generation almost.
Yep. All right, so stories have changed. If you don't write it down, you don't document it, you weren't there. All right, there's probably a few people that were there at the time because it's not so far out that everybody has died away, but yeah, that's what's happened. So he's trying to now pass the word along and say, listen guys, I know you didn't see him, all right, but I'm praising you, because that's the first part of the book here, right? He's basically, you know, praise to God for the living hope that you have that's there in him. All right, everybody with me? We're good so far? Okay, now, so now we know that that's what we got. So we're supposed to love him and we're supposed to believe him. And then, all right, we're to be filled. Filled with what? What's the scripture say that we're supposed to be filled with? Joy. All right. Again, Laura talked about that last week. All right. Joy is not necessarily this happy little feeling that comes over us and we just, you know, don't have any cares in the world. Right? The joy is in the midst of the fact that Christ is there helping us. Joy in the midst that, all right, there are friends that love us and will take care of us. Joy in all these other things, all right? It's not just this, you know, happy little feeling that Walt Disney gives us as the music goes and all that, right? All right, because in context, trials come, stuff happens to us, all right? And when we're done, we're stronger and better. North?
I was just going to say, when it says inexpressible and glorious joy, that's really a testimony. That's a witnessing tool right there.
Right.
Got a lot of downcast Christians going around these days.
Right, so for us to be upbeat, all right, and to not at least woe is me like Eeyore, all right, all the time, people are going to say, why? All right, hey, you had a terrible thing happen to you, or oh my goodness, you whatever, why are you so, why do you feel so good, or why are you not so downtrodden? Well, now there's an opening to say, hey, I've got Christ, all right, I have friends, I have the Holy Spirit. Alice?
That's harder to do.
Why?
Some people it's easier than others, depending on the personality.
Absolutely a fact, depending upon your personality and
And
where
yet
you
it
are
is
and how you
true, and
think.
believing in truth. I know
Yes.
that.
You got that part. It's still true, no whether it's hard or not hard, right? Gordon?
I mean, remember, we're not supposed to, we don't necessarily have joy in the middle of the trial. What I meant by a testimony is, there's a lot of us walking around when there's no real trial going on, and we still don't have any joy. And I mean, there should be joy.
Right.
Most of the time. I mean, when a trial comes, sure, it hurts and stuff, and then after the trial, well, good joy should return. It should be inexpressible, it should be obvious.
Okay, Jan?
I go back to Romans 12:2, that, you know, renew your mind. It's what you think about most is what's going to show up in your face.
Right. Nancy?
When Fruit got sick, you know, the doctor said he had 5.5 months. And he was, yeah, because he said he was got home from work. My sister said, how can he live with that daily and be happy? And I said, because he knows where he's going. And I mean, he had some, you know, time to, you know, work out, but on the most part, he was happy.
And we have to the point here, kind of the word that we're gonna get to next year about receiving. Receiving means it's happening now and it's gonna continue to happen. All right, now that's not the intent of the word right here, but that's the intent of what we're talking about here. It's a process, all right? It's not like it just shows up at the door, you can put it in your pocket, it's there, it works when you want it, you pull it out, or it's in a box and you open up this box and, you know, I got all I need. It's a process that goes along, and in the context, the heat and the cool makes so it just gets better and better and better. Certain people comes to quicker, certain people don't need so much heat, all right? Some people get it faster. It's all part of how we are. And as long as you understand that it's happening, and we gotta do our best to make it through it. Alice?
Well, just to continue, I was saying it's a discipline too, as Ann said, it's renewing your mind. You know, you don't have that, it's a feeling, and women are more feeling oriented, but you've got that fact and that truth, and so then you renew your mind with that fact, that truth, constantly. And that's where the joy comes.
Okay, we're gonna take a look at another verse here that's related, that might help with that. Ephesians 3:14. All right? Go back about 50 pages. 65 in my Bible. It's difficult. Alice is right. It's difficult to define, you know, what's inexpressible, what's glorious, when to have it, when not to have it. In the middle of the trial, all right, to North's point, is not usually when we show our best side. Is after it's done, we can look back and say, well, you know what? I'm a better person because of it, or things came out much better than I would have planned, which is always ask for God's will and not mine, right? Because He's way better at deciding what's happening than we are, but nonetheless, this unexpressible and glorious joy, you know, how much is that, or whatever. So here, Paul in Ephesians, all right, is going to help us a little bit, all right? In 14, verse 3:14, it says, "For this reason I kneel before the Father, from whom His whole family in heaven and on earth derives its name. I pray that out of His glorious riches He may strengthen you with power through His Spirit in your inner being." All right, so he's basically saying, hey, the Spirit's going to help you here. All right? 17, "So that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. And I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power, together with all the saints, to grasp," and here we are, to grasp how wide, how long, how high, and how deep is the love of Christ. All right? You read that verse before, you've seen it. All right? You know, how is this? How wide is this? How tall is this? How deep is this? You know, how, whatever. You can't describe. I mean, it's everywhere. Right? This is everywhere. All right? The love of Christ, and to know that this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled with the measure of all the fullness of God. All right? I mean, this is a big package, all right, that we have, all right? And it's everywhere, all right? It's hard to describe, all right? But Paul is telling us here in his prayer, all right, that we have it, all right? Peter is saying here that it's inexpressible and it's glorious, this joy that we have. All right? It's just so, all these questions are good questions. Right? How do I do this? And this comes harder, and it doesn't come to me as fast as it comes to the next guy. I get that. And we all get that. So that's part of the reason why we end up supporting some people more often than the others. Some people are better than others. We talked about many, many times. Who's the best person to help somebody? The guy that's already gone through the same trial. The guy that's already hurt. The guy that's already lived through the hurt. And the guy that's, they're always the best people, all right? Because they've done something firsthand, right? And Paul's trying to help us out by saying that. And we know that this joy that we get, all right, because we believe in him, is ours to be had. And we don't have to see Christ to receive it. Clear. Jan?
Well, I'm sitting here thinking about two things. First is in Daniel when he was in the fiery furnace, and God didn't save him from the fiery furnace. He allowed him in the trial, the fiery furnace, but he come out not even smelling like smoke, okay?
Right.
And I'm thinking of, have you ever passed a person on the street and you can tell instantly that they have been drinking? That you smell that alcohol thing on them, and the first thing, oh, yeah, they've had a few today. As Christians, when people pass by us, do they smell smoke? Or have we shown the joy of Christ to where they can't tell what trials we've gone through? What do they smell?
Nothing but the sweet smell of Christ,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And in that case, that's a really good example of who ended up with the glory when all was said and done.
Yes,
God did, right?
God did.
Right? Because in the midst of that whole thing, what happened? I see that your God is God powerful enough to take care of you in this whole deal, and then God received the glory. That's the end result. Should it be the end result always?
And Daniel wasn't focused on the fiery trial, he
No.
was focused on God getting glory
Focused on
from
God.
it.
His faith
That's right.
was so strong.
That's
Yes.
And that's part of our problem, is we have a tendency to focus too much on what it is that's happening to us and what we're going through, instead of how is God using this, or how is God going to receive glory and honor through this.
Exactly. And this whole deal with Barbara bringing up the word not ends up being important, all right? Because we didn't see it. We weren't there, all right? And yet, we have a whole bunch of pages here. We've got a book of the Bible that tells us how to do it, but we have to do all this by faith, all right? Because we weren't there. Liz?
I just think of, I know I've quoted here once before, but when Beth Moore taught about, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego going into the fire, and they were bound with ropes. And she said the only thing that was burned was the bonds on them. And sometimes we are experiencing things in life, or we have a misunderstanding of God. But there is something that is binding us, and believe it or not, a trial, a fiery trial, is sometimes what finally burns those bonds off of us. Nothing else is burned, just the bonds that are holding.
And then we come out fine, and the bonds are gone. But our problem is, being human like we are, we easily forget that God did that to us, or for us. We easily forget, all right, next thing you know, woe is me, right? And Peter is trying to, say here that, hey, we have something unbelievable here, all right, that was given to us as a free gift, all right? And you guys didn't have to see it, all right? And he knows firsthand. He was there for 3 years. He knows how bad he was with all the stuff that he did, all right? So now, 35 or 40 years later, he's writing this message to these guys. He's trying to encourage them to listen. I'm so proud of you because I know you love him, and I know you believe in him, and you haven't even seen him, and I did, right? We just got hold of that too, all right? We don't have to see all that, all right? We just have to believe. Okay, so we'll go on here to the next thing. So we're going to be receiving, all right? I said it earlier, the receiving is a continual process, all right? School teachers, when we go to school, we learn our verbs and whether it's past tense and future tense and, I don't know, all, long since tried to forget all that, but okay. Present tense, whatever, but clearly here, all right, this is a case where it's a continual process. We didn't get the gift, stick it in our pocket, we got it, all right? And we gotta remember where it is and go pick it up next time. We are receiving it, all right? And the result, all right, is our salvation. All right, that's the result of the whole thing, is that we receive our salvation. Now, we're not gonna go on to whether you get your salvation, you lose your salvation. I think most of us had this conversation. Once you receive it, it's there. All right, you got it, you don't lose it, you can't lose it, it's not gone. All right, now lots of people will contend whether they actually received it in the first place. Okay, that's probably a good discussion to have. All right, but once you receive Christ and once the Spirit is there, it's yours, you got it. We want to forget that it's there, we want to work around it, and we want all these other things, but we got it. All right? So, we done with this verse? Anything else in here we need to talk about? One more word. Oh. Souls. The salvation of our souls. Bottom of our feet?
Different spelling.
So what's a soul? We're gonna study it, all right? I can guarantee you, there's issues with trying to define what soul is, all right? But this is the salvation of our souls, all right? So what's our soul? Somebody give me a nice definition, and we'll finish in 2 minutes,
I
and
don't
we'll
know
take a
what
break.
word's being used there, but oftentimes your soul, it's referring to your mind, your will, and your emotions. It's different than your spirit. But I don't know what word's being used there. So.
Okay? You asked 2 good questions. You might not know it, but you asked 2 really good questions. What else anyone want to say? Anybody?
I would say it's the part of you that lives forever.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Anybody else before I push the button?